A Junkanoo cultural icon has died. And another man is dead following an altercation. The Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition, starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
The cultural community is mourning the loss of one of its own. Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition. I'm Andrew Knowles. Prominent Valley Boys leader Winston Gus Cooper passed away during the early morning hours after battling a long illness. He was 72. Funeral preparations have already begun and the tributes are pouring in for a man whose imprint on the Bahamas looms just as large in death as it did during his lifetime. Today, LaDon Davis spoke to his family and close friends who played a pivotal role in Cooper's life and legacy.
He is considered one of the most electrifying pillars in the Junkanoo community and has rightfully earned the name as a father of modern-day Junkanoo. Winston Gus Cooper, as he is affectionately called, has served as a leader of the Valley Boys for more than half of a century. But in 1977, Cooper was appointed Director of Youth Sports and Culture and also served as President of the Bahamas Amateur Athletic Association. His longtime friend, Prime Minister Perry Christie, says while Gus's death is a terrible loss to the country, he hopes Bahamians realize how crucial his participation was in last year's Boxing Day parade as the group celebrates its 56th anniversary.
This is the first time, of course, that he wouldn't be there for the anniversary. And that is the reason why, and I hope people of the Bahamas understand why, as Prime Minister, I chose to come out of retirement to go on Bay Street in honor of Gus Cooper. Receiving medical reports, I knew, could not share with the public, but I knew he would never ever come to Bay Street again. I knew that life would have it that we would never see him in all of his spectacular self again. And so in some small way I thought, as someone from his generation and someone who was a part of the founding of the group, I should go out there and represent Gus and who he was.
Mr. Christie says it's also important to nationally recognize icons like Winston Gus Cooper before they pass on.
I hope that the country finally would learn from our experience with people like Gus, King Eric Gibson, who has just died, again another icon, that we would find a way to memorialize them in their lifetimes so that they could truly appreciate the esteem and honor that the country bestows upon them. And
with several Valley Boys by his side, his son Francisco Cooper says he was expecting his father to come home on Saturday morning after an observation, but God had other plans. He told us how the family is coping with this great loss.
He was a hero to me. He was my all in all, you know. He guided me through many difficult times, and he's taught me to be strong, you know. As he told me 6 months ago, Junkanoo is my life. And it's time that you go forth and take care of my business. It's a very difficult time for my mother, you know, as my brother just passed in November, and it's just so difficult. And my oldest daughter, who is scheduled to go back to college next week, you know, she is totally broken up right now, and it's, you know, it's going to be a difficult week.
Gus Cooper died at 3 o'clock Saturday morning. He was 72 years old. Now, funeral services for Junkanoo legend, the late Winston Gus Cooper, is expected to take place at the Most Holy Trinity Anglican Church next week, Saturday at 10 a.m. LaDon Davis, ZNS Network News.
Now, a special Junkanoo rush out is taking place tonight at the Valley Boys Claridge Road Shack in honor of Winston Gus Cooper. Well, another longtime friend, Ed McPhee, says Gus Cooper was more than just a friend. He described him as a brother. McPhee says he tagged along with Gus as a Bella from the inception of the Valley Boys and became one of his proteges. He says Cooper molded him into the man he is today.
He instilled in me a little bit about life. because within the Valley Boys, I learned to communicate with people. I learned to be able to differentiate between right and wrong in the sense of communicating with people. I learned the skills of the artisanry, of the culture of Junkanoo because of Mr. Cooper. He saw some things in me that I didn't realize.
Police investigating a stabbing which has left a man dead. A 29-year-old man reported to police that he was involved in an altercation around 2 o'clock this morning with another man at a nightclub on Faith Avenue South. According to reports, the man attempted to rob him earlier in the evening and assaulted him with a firearm. That's when he told police he stabbed the man with a knife. Now, the stabbed victim was taken to hospital where he later succumbed to his injuries. The 29-year-old man is assisting police with their investigations. Last week's shooting deaths in Fox Hill and the recent murders recorded at the beginning of the new year have prompted the Ministry of National Security and its Operation Ceasefire, along with the Violence Breakers program, to join forces with the Fox Hill Congos and Youth Against Violence for a special event to promote healing in Fox Hill. The event last night attracted a group of local pastors along with politicians for an anti-crime basketball game at the Freedom Park. The group was also led on a tour of the site where 4 people were gunned down and a number of other residents injured. Pastor J. Carl Ramming, who has strong roots embedded in Fox Hill, applauded the joint initiative to create peace in that historic community hit by tragedy.
These are serious times. Amen. And in all that we do, we ought to indeed put God first. And I'm delighted to see some of our representatives here from both sides, from the government and the opposition, and we are very pleased that they can take time out to come together to show love, unity, to show concern for this little village called Fox Hill.
National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage and Opposition Leader Dr. Hubert Minnis also lauded the initiative and its impact on the community as residents try to move forward.
I want to bring condolences to the families of those persons who we lost. I want us to learn from that experience that time is promised to no man, and we should all be ready whenever Jesus calls or Jesus comes. But let us just love each other, protect each other, make peace with each other, and everything will be just all right.
Let's start the Fox Hill Know Your Neighbor program. And once every 3 months, you come here, invite your neighbors to the park, being led by the church, so that you can have community association meeting, because you know your neighbors, and therefore we can have events, activities on the park, to show the criminals that we are all together. We're not afraid of anybody. And together, remember, we're strong.
Well, the crime situation could pose a challenge for the country's economic climate. Prime Minister Perry Christie says with the bright economic outlook for the Bahamas, it's even more important to address the crime challenges. Mr. Christie's comments came during a luncheon hosted for urban renewal officials on Friday. The Prime Minister further explains why it's important to tackle crime as the country pulls itself out of a slow economic period.
We are on the beginning path of jobs being created in our country, all over the country. We are on the path of exciting things happening that will give people who suffered in 2013 more than the hope of a good 2014, but the realization of employment in 2014, or better employment in 2014. So 2014 and 2015 are defining years in terms of moving out of the recession. It's not going to be good for us if the international press, whilst I'm talking about improved economy, is saying, but you can't go this place and you can't go that place, because if you go that place, you might get hurt.
If all goes well, Minister of State for Investments, Kayla's Roll, is predicting a positive investment climate for the Bahamas in 2014, which will have an improvement over the previous year. Mr. Roll says the government has made headway on several projects and has engaged in discussions with new investors whose projects have gone through the approval process. Those are expected to come to fruition in the coming year and have a positive impact on the economy. Mr. Roll listed some of the standouts, which are expected to put a dent in the country's unemployment figures.
So we're very optimistic about what is going to take place. We believe that Bahama is going to be a major catalyst for a renewed economic development of the country, and we're going to begin to see reduced unemployment as a result of Bahama and some of the other projects that the government anticipates will have an impact. One of the other ones, interesting enough, is the Nassau Palm Resort. That was something that we approved 6 months into office, and they've already started renovations, and they're projecting that they're going to reopen at around March.
Well, as he said there, the Nassau Palm Resort also has a planned expansion that Roll believes will be a further benefit to the local economy.
They're expanding the resort. I think it's going to move from 200 rooms to 280 rooms. And they're also looking at the property next door, where they're looking for another brand similar to Marriott. So we're very optimistic that things are going to turn around in 2014.
Well, stay with us. There's more news to come after this break.